Gentlemen, good evening. How are you?
Very good. Fine as silk.
Fine as silk and
Yeah.
Fine as wine.
fine as
Fine.
wine, and I am as frazzled as a something.
I'm as
I don't know.
frazzled as a something. What is
I don't
something?
know. But you know what? I have to say this. I can't tell you the last time Kyle has had a spaz out before we start recording because of computer problems. That's been pretty good while, hasn't it?
It's that damn Mac. I keep telling you.
There you go.
Hmm. Well, I said for anyone listening that's here now, which I see one person's here, um, I was in a frazzled mood. I mean, I was actually in almost meltdown mode because I have a stickler for time, no Time Lord jokes intended. And Lee, you actually raised my mood. You want to share real quick how you raised my mood?
Oh, I was trying to get here from dinner out with the family, and as I was driving in, I was reading your text messages. Well, not while I was driving, but you know what I mean. And and I said to my wife, at least this will give Kyle and Clarence some PC Mac fighting to do. And
And
I
lo
don't
and
know why
behold,
I don't know why that delights you so much, but anyway.
so Clarence proceeds to say, it's really not the time, but I'm going to, not make a joke about, what did you say?
I don't remember,
It was
man.
something
Well,
about uh, something. I think you said just about a Mac joke, and I said,
Yeah.
well, at least, I could say if it was a PC, at least mine did
yeah.
boot up.
But see, the way I heard that was Clarence was saying, I could do that, but I'm not going to.
And Kyle
And
does.
then you did it anyway. So,
I just wanted to be predictable. Come on.
Kyle,
okay. Yeah.
you haven't been this frazzled since you lost your recorder.
Oh dear, I haven't mentioned the recorder in quite a while. Probably since the what was it? The Power of the Doctor, because we saw the record. I don't even know if in that episode I even brought up the recorder.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God.
Dang it, I had totally forgotten about the recorder.
Okay.
But you know what? I didn't forget. We're
Hmm.
already late, so I think it's time to say, gentlemen,
Oh,
here we go again. The
whoosh.
Discussing Network presents Discussing Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Kyle Jones, and I want to start this week by welcoming back the computer genius himself, the master of the PC, Clarence Brown. How are you, my friend?
I'm a PC and he's a Mac. We don't use master anymore. We say primary. Come on, Cal.
Um, okay, well,
Oh,
Come on, man.
so,
You're
so
on
you,
program.
you're. I'm not on program. I'm not on. But see, maybe if I were a master, I could say something nice. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe you could.
But you know who's always going to say something nice? Lee Shackelford. Mr. Shackelford, how are you?
I do try. I'm having a great time. Just good things happening all around. I was afraid since we kind of came into Restream sideways that I couldn't see the chat. But there is Tasha. Hello, Tasha. And here's Jamie Johnson. Hello. So that's all good.
Hello, hello, hello. And for everyone listening, since we are now actually in the podcast that will be recorded and sent out in
Mm.
audio version, I am a little frazzled tonight. We were talking about that just a moment ago because I'm having computer issues for the very first time in a long time, and I am on my notes, but my notes are in my hand and my phone. So just bear with me, audio people. Know that Kyle's a little bit off, and just go ahead and laugh in the background and say, I've been listening to this podcast for years. I already know you're a little bit off. But hey,
Yeah, but I'm using the right microphone this time. So
you are indeed,
that
and you sound fantastic.
The
that will be
dulcet
a huge
tones.
boon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But hey, and I've just been blaming it on live streaming. So there you go.
yeah. No, that was me selecting the wrong microphone. I've done worse. The podcast All of Space and Time. I was there as a guest, and I think I had was trying to use a microphone that was actually in another room.
Oh my God.
Oops.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So subsequently, my audio contribution to that podcast is not up to standard.
That is interesting.
Anyway,
Yes.
And maybe people were thinking of you when you were recording that, thinking, and this gentleman says that he won a award for audio.
Yes, audio production. Yes. Yep. Shows how.
You
Yep. Shows how
see, that was
irrelevant
just
those things are.
you cleverly just wanting people to recognize, is this really a test that I'm doing here?
That's right. Yeah. I
Hmm.
know he knows better.
Well, I know something that you like telling people who are listening to this podcast, and what would that be?
Oh, we love saying, we know you got other things you could be doing. You could be listening to another Doctor Who podcast. You could be listening to one of those where they just like to hate on everything. And that's not us. And we thank you for joining us. And we hope that you have a good time.
Indeed, indeed. And Clarence, if someone were listening to us, where could they find us?
You can find us on all of the podcasting platforms. You can also find us on all of the social medias at Discussing Who. Or if you want to send us in any feedback, you can send that into discussingwho@gmail.com.
All righty. So I'm going to mention two things that are kind of newsworthy of this next episode. This episode, and I think we've mentioned this already, will not be released early on iPlayer. Everything will be streamed and viewed around the world at the same time, whether it's cinema in the UK, whether it is, you know, Disney Plus, or whether it's iPlayer or the terrestrial BBC broadcast. Everything will be streamed at the or viewed at the same time. And along with that, this episode is over 60 minutes. So this is the first one since The Power of the Doctor that's not a Christmas episode, and I'm not even sure a Christmas episode is 60 minutes. That is
Oh.
a length, you know, of, of a story. So any thoughts without getting into details of this extra length, either of you?
Nope. Just glad of it.
Yeah, love a meaty episode. So, yeah, it makes me happy.
Mm. And you know what? I think Jamie Johnson just explained my computer. May 24th came and went, and so did Kyle's computer.
I'll blame the Ronnie.
Blame the Ronnie. But you know what? Before we go any further, Tasha reminds us spoilers. So, for anyone listening, if you have not seen Wish World, put us on pause, go out, watch the episode, come back, because from this moment forward, spoilers. Alrighty, the spoiler warning has gone out, and we are back to review Wish World. This is the seventh episode of the 2025 series of Doctor Who, first airing / streaming on the 24th of May, 2025. It starred Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor, Farida Sethu as Belinda Chandra, and Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday. So, some review. Lee Shackelford, I think I'll start with you. Some review. What say ye?
I'm starting to feel like a lot of these loose threads are actually being pulled together. I'm dreading that where we're going is to a sort of it was all a dream kind of ending. But it is a lot of fun to see how some of these things, some things that we didn't even realize were questions, like the space babies. It's turning out that they're all actually related to this event, and that's kind of fun. So I really enjoyed this episode. How about you, Mr. Brown?
Oh man, I absolutely love this episode. It hit on all the things I love about Doctor Who. I think the story was well crafted. Like you mentioned, intrigue to other episodes that we've seen in the past. Maybe getting a little more information. Maybe it makes a little more sense now. Overall, I just thought it was an excellent episode. Definitely piggybacking off some other shows we've seen lately, WandaVision and others. But as far as it goes, I love seeing sort of this otherworldly take on the Doctor and Belinda, and I thought the way the story was put together, it made a lot of sense, and it was really fun for me to watch. Sans one part I didn't like, but other than that, I think I was sold.
I'm interested to find out the part you didn't like. That being said, so I enjoyed watching it. I had fun watching it. I didn't get bored. It was fast paced. It kept my attention. But I came away feeling, yes, that the threads may be starting to intertwine together, but, and maybe this is me comparing it to how the Stolen Earth went into Journey's End, because I
Hmm.
figured that was the, the payoff moment a little bit in the RTD1 era. And I'm looking at this feeling whelmed. I'm not quite
Hmm.
sure if I'm overwhelmed or
Yeah,
underwhelmed, but I'm
just
whelmed at
whelmed.
the moment. That doesn't mean that I didn't like it. Don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
I thought it was very well done. The Ronnie, the actor, and I'm so sorry that I don't have her name written down at the moment, but her portrayal was spot on. I really enjoyed it. It was camp, but not too much,
Hmm.
and I enjoyed it. But I know we'll
I'd say that.
get into that. Clarence, what did you think of starting the story in the past using a baby, and I'm going to hope I pronounce this correct, Desiderium, to
Hmm.
reshape reality?
Oh, man. I thought it was interesting. I kind of feel like we should have had maybe trickles of this baby idea before we got to this episode,
Hmm.
because it's such a big, key, important thing that it's kind of like, oh, it's just subtly here when we need it to make this thing happen. I know that's how stories work sometimes, but it
Yeah.
felt a little too convenient to seventh son of the seventh son, um, and to have this God born through this baby. I know that probably plays into the whole what they call it, unholy trinity thing they got going.
All right.
Uh, but yeah, it felt very convenient. But also it was somewhat interesting to me. I do like the storytelling at the very beginning and seeing how sinister the Ronnie was, because that was pretty harsh.
Lee?
Yeah. It is interesting to see her being just a straight up witch, turning people into animules and so on. Yeah. That and it's funny. It's the kind of thing that I say sometimes really bugs me. I don't like magic in my say, hey, you got magic in my fantasy, and they're saying, oh, you got fantasy in my magic. I but you know I dug this. I can't explain it. So
Mm. So let me ask you this. So this was a little bit of my problem with the story. And this was one of the things that I did not like. And we may get a resolution of this or an explanation of this. But as the last episode ended, the Interstellar Song Competition, as that episode ended, the Doctor and Belinda are in the TARDIS. The cloister bell and the alarm goes off. The red
hmm,
lights come on, and the
yeah,
doors
both.
explode.
Hmm.
We open this episode basically in one division, like Clarence
Yeah.
said. So my question is this: is this is is this another example of having 8 episodes versus 13 episodes? Because I kind of felt like I needed to see reality change. I
Mm,
needed to see unit change from unit to an insurance agency.
yeah.
Hmm. That didn't particularly bother me much, because again, if I'm going off of stories I've seen similar to this, particularly One Division, we just start the series and we're just there. We really don't have any idea how we got there. I'm sure, like One Division, we may get an explanation. Well, I guess we did get an explanation in this story, a verbal explanation of what happened. Probably not going to see it on screen, but it didn't bother me so much. I like the discovery of just being dropped in to this story and figuring out kind of what's
Mm,
going on.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll do that one. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. Let's perplex the audience. It's fun to have us sometimes just say the hell. The Doctor and Belinda are in bed, and that's because they're married, and it's cool. Okay.
So let's talk just a second about the person who did this, the Ronnie. I did not pick up on first watch, and I actually had to be told this before I got it. I didn't realize that the Ronnie kissing the baby was what gave her the magic power at first, because I was
Right.
like, why? How was she able to do this? And it was like, no. Every time she did one of the things, changing the woman whose name was Violet into Violet, she kissed the
Yeah.
baby's head. And
Right.
I didn't realize that either. So
so,
good
Oh,
observation. Yeah.
yeah. I thought that was really, they were sort of visually teaching you what the rules are. Kiss the baby, does the spell, kiss or whatever. Yeah. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that it seemed like it's the baby that makes this possible, and we'll soon find out that is related to this larger idea that we've broken the universe, and so now the gods can come through and that kind of stuff. So
well, even the Ronnie brings up the idea that, hey, this is all because of you. All of this happened because of what you did.
hmm yeah,
Speaking of the Ronnie, let's stay with the Ronnie for a moment. We have the Ronnie and we have a Ronnie who has
yeah,
kept the name Mrs. Flood.
yeah.
Thoughts about this duality of one being subservient to the other?
It's a little weird because even in the cases of all the famous multi-doctor episodes we've had in the past, I mean, we've never seen one be subservient to another in that sense.
Yeah.
But I guess this is different. This is a bi-generation. But that I think we mentioned this last week. It leads me to the question: so is David Tennant's doctor subservient to Shooty's? It kind of breaks my head in that aspect.
Yeah.
Like, what's the need to make her subservient? I really don't entirely get that. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts?
Yeah, that seems a lot more to me like it is serving a story purpose
Yeah.
than has any logic in canon. um, but it's interesting. It's fun to play with.
And even on top of that, she keeps the name Mrs. Flood.
Yeah,
Gotta call her something.
yeah, it's true, and it's not going to be the Ronnie.
Mm. Yep. Because even with that brief moment of the doctor and the doctor saying, I'm the doctor and I'm the doctor, there
Mhm.
was only the third act that they were both the doctor at the same time in the story.
Yeah,
And talking about the subserviency of the doctor versus the other and the multi versions that we've seen them talk down to each other
hmm
in a banter, that we see them try to outdo each other, but
yeah,
we've never had one that asserted control as I am the definitive article and
right.
you're just my predecessor.
Yeah, you're the imitation. Yeah,
So we see, one of the things that I have been harping on is the absence of family, particularly the absence of Belinda's family. We
hmm
see not only Belinda's mother and what I believe to be grandmother, but we
hmm
also see Belinda's quote unquote daughter. Let's talk first before we move to the daughter, mother and grandmother. Any thoughts in particular?
Wasn't it her auntie?
Or auntie? Okay,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
see.
yeah.
But yeah, maybe. Okay, so family thoughts.
Well, it's heartbreaking to learn that they're the ones who dropped a dime on her, as we used to say, back when there were payphones and dimes.
Oh, that's
But
what they call. Oh, that's
oh
what.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah, that's how old that is. Um, yeah, meaning she's the one who made the call and said, "You got to come and take Ruby away." And you know, that's your mother, man. Auntie.
Hmm. Clarence, any thoughts on you?
On them in particular, I really was glad we finally have seen some of her family. I really love their ama, and just
hmm
her auntie too. I thought they both were really fun and interesting. But yeah, like Lee mentioned, in this this regime where doubts are held against you. Um, Feels very totalitarian. Um, you're gonna get the dime dropped on you if you, you get off program or if you display any deviancy in how you act, how you present yourself, what you say, what you do. So I found that aspect, and again, like the pressure with Belinda's parents, but Ruby's parents as well, having to do the same. I found it all very interesting.
Okay. Lee, what about you? What do you think?
Um, I have nothing new to say.
Yeah, he
Okay.
went first.
Yeah, that's what I thought after I said that.
Yeah.
So I will say this: both actors that they had spot on. I love their portrayal. But other than that, the whole time I was thinking was, why did you two have to show up? Because now I'm wrong, and I wanted so much to be right about my
What?
thought.
Huh.
Wait,
So
what was your theory?
my theory was that she was Susan,
Oh, got you,
and that
got you.
kind of, yeah, that. But
Mm,
I want to bring up something Win Grace said to my Mrs. Flood Ronnie thing. If any of you have watched Invincible, the either the cartoon animated version on Amazon, or if you've read the comic, you'll reference what Win Grace is bringing up. But he says, I think it makes sense for the new version of her to think of herself as the superior. But I don't get why Mrs. Flood would agree to that. I would think it's more like the blue clone guys from Invincible. So if you know who those two characters are, then you'll understand Win Grace's comments. But basically, it
mm.
was neither one of them knew who was the original. So they were
Yeah.
constantly thinking that they were the original. So they kept going back and forth with it. And I think I would have liked to have seen a
Yeah,
little bit of that as opposed to more of the subserviency. But
Mm.
we'll see. We'll see. All right, so let's talk about this reality for a moment. We've kind of already been alluding to it that, Clarence, you made the comments that you did. I just find it very interesting that this was recorded back in 2023. And whether you're in the United States, or particularly if you're in the United States right now, it's interesting that some of the societal, political actions that are going on right now tend to push us in that alt right, uber conservative
Mhm.
type idea that they are presenting. So, what do you think of Conrad and Lee? Well, actually, Clarence, I think I'll let you take this one first. What do you think of Conrad being used as an instrument to fuel reality?
with the help of the baby, with the help of what's her name, Desiderio.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to figure like what part of the holy unholy trinity does he play? Is he Satan, the Antichrist, or is it the false prophet? Like which one is he? I
Yeah.
guess I got a little too deep in trying to research this stuff. But I thought it was interesting having him. I guess be sort of like the figurehead of this regime,
Hmm.
the one to tell the stories, keep the people in order, and also it seems like with the health of this the guy, the baby god,
Yeah.
uh,
Whatever.
he's able to control the elements and create this world. It's
Yeah.
actually coming from him. He's the one doing this. Um, it's an interesting jump from his character from the last time we saw him.
Mm.
Because I would think that he would be too unhinged to do something so. I don't know. I don't know. It was interesting seeing him in the role, but I still, it took me aback a little bit to see him in this ultra calm, kicked back, the voice of the people.
Mm. Reading the bedtime story.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Lee, what do you think?
Well, I think it's very interesting that he's clearly under the Ronnie's control somehow,
Mm.
and he has a job to do, and it's in the service of the baby, and as a result, he gets to be the god of this reality.
Yeah.
But it's also we it's also killing him, maybe. he can't leave, and
Hmm.
he's exhausted,
Yep, it is.
but he has to keep smiling and he has to keep telling the story. And I think that's a cool aspect of this. I want to see where that's going.
My thought with him was be careful what you wish for
Uh huh.
because you just might get it.
Yeah.
And that was what I saw of him was he wanted this, he had his view of the way reality should be.
Hmm.
And he gets the keys to the kingdom and the power to create that. But again, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. You have this utopia in your vision, but you have to fuel that, and you don't get downtime from that being that fuel, that mental
Yeah.
fuel. And is that exhausting? By all means, I would think
Yeah.
so, obviously.
It'd have to be.
You have to have food brought to you, you know,
Hmm.
while you go to a commercial break. And that's just I couldn't imagine being given if somebody said, we'll give you everything you want and everything that you want to have happen, but you've got to fuel that. And
Yeah.
I just can't fathom that.
Well, and it's kind of like being a TV star or a showrunner of a popular series, or you know,
Hmm.
it had better be your life. Um, yeah.
But
Yeah,
Jim makes a good comment. He doesn't get to enjoy his own creation.
and that's
Right.
so true. That
Yeah.
is so true. Now, I said we would before I switched to him. I said we would come back to the daughter, and let's do that. Poppy returns.
Hmm.
We know her as Captain Poppy,
Yes. And she doesn't have adult intelligence, and she doesn't talk.
or does she?
Well.
Or is this reality stopping her from talking?
Hmm. Well, she said no.
But she said no strategically. Is my
Mm,
thought,
yeah,
because you
but like a
know,
baby. Yeah.
but like a baby,
Yeah.
because that's what she's being presented as. But the questions that she said no to were questions like, "Oh, aren't you excited for May the 24th to be here?" No.
Yeah.
And then there was something else that I thought,
Mm.
no. And
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Clarence.
no, I was going to ask. This is the same little girl we saw in the spider episode as well,
Yes,
right?
Yep.
yes,
Hmm.
same one.
With no explanation. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So Tasha says she thinks Poppy is the counter to that evil baby.
Mm.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
It's
It'd be
interesting.
nice.
All right. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead.
Let me ask this question real quick too. So this would be whoever would be alive in 2024, all consumed in this world, in this pseudo fake reality. How is Poppy there? I still don't see how Poppy would even be
Hmm.
there. She would have to be already somewhere in that reality, unless she
Mm.
was brought there purposely for some reason.
Well,
Yes.
well, remember the Ronnie does travel in space and time, and she had a
Well,
TARDIS in
well,
her previous appearances. So who's
that's
to
why she
say?
was in. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how she could go to 19th century. Yeah.
right. And
Bavaria.
she
Yeah.
was in. That's why she was able to go to the planet Midnight or be there in the
Right.
future when they went to Midnight. So.
Mm.
And see, Winggrace brought up something very good as well. He
Mm.
says, I saw it pointed out that in Space Babies, that when Poppy asked the doctor if he was her father, he said, I wish.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But now
Nice.
Tasha says, this is speculation slash could be spoilers. Uh, Poppy is a Time Lord. She's the doctor's real daughter.
Hmm.
Susan's mother.
And if that
Mm.
were the case, then what does that mean that but no Belinda could not remember having Poppy.
Right.
Interesting.
Mm.
Mm. All right, so we have covered Captain Poppy, and again, as we're talking about, I'm going back and forth to my notes. Um, let's talk a moment about some brief cameos that we saw. We see Susan flash again, and then we see the return of someone I didn't expect to see be mentioned in this episode, let alone have a mini message for the doctor. Rogue returns.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That was
Lee,
cool.
thought about Rogue.
Um, I'm sorry that he's in hell. He said, "Yeah, thanks for this, by the way." Um, but he doesn't seem to hold any hard feelings. I wondered if we're gonna. This means we're gonna see him again. Um,
Hmm. Interesting.
I mean,
Maybe.
he did say, "Find me."
He did indeed.
Uh,
All right, Clarence, what do you think?
I think we will see him again. Also, where is we haven't mentioned his name yet, and I know it's going to come up later. But where is Omega?
yeah.
Is do we know where he is right now? And the reason I'm asked, he's not in hell with Rogue, is he? I don't know. I didn't really go research. I don't remember what happened to him last, but um, just trying to tie it in.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. So I really don't know. I want to go back and watch the Arc of Infinity as
Hmm.
well. That was his last appearance with the Fifth Doctor. So I want to go back and rewatch that before it's time for, the finale. I really want to
Yeah.
see what Omega looks like. I personally prefer his original look from the Three Doctors as opposed to his weird, I don't know what kind of helmet he had on in the Arc of Infinity story with the Fifth Doctor. Just looked weird, but
Yeah, I need to see those again.
yeah.
In the chat, Windgray says maybe he's been on the TARDIS since the 80s.
Not Wentgrace, you're totally wrong. He's not on top of the TARDIS. He's on the bottom of the TARDIS. He's in the
He's
underworld, the under
well,
TARDIS.
he said he's been on the yeah.
Oh, she did say the underworld in the
Yeah,
episode, though. The
see,
Ronnie did.
the
Okay.
underworld is he's holding on to the bottom of the TARDIS, whereas Sutek already was on the top of the TARDIS.
somebody,
Very
He was
crowded.
he was
somebody
the
Very
made that
reason.
crowded.
image happen.
It was not Sutek. It was him that was causing the sparks that we saw
I
in the
see.
opening
That
credits.
was, they've already run over Omega.
Yeah,
As he's been
they've been
already
running
dragged him.
over Omega. See, Omega. He's at the end, so that means he's at the bottom. Oh, I am on point tonight.
Wow, that's
I'm on something, but I don't know what. Uh, all right. So, thoughts about it being revealed that it was Omega or Omega or whatever
yeah.
you want to call it.
Depending on who's saying it. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense as we said we well within the realm of the gods, the pantheon, and all that stuff. I think it makes sense. Um, Again, I think we mentioned this on a previous review. And if they're resetting or starting with season number one, season two, like they keep going back to the well with these classic villains, and I
Hmm.
wonder how much of it is translatable to people watching now. I mean, I guess it does what it's supposed to do, make you go back and watch all the Ronnie episodes, go find the Omega episodes, as Legion mentions in the chat. So I, it's fine. It's fine. I just don't remember anything about Omega. I need to go back and watch the episodes.
Mm.
Take away my Who card.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
I don't. Go ahead, Glee.
I'm glad that Lei Jin brought that up because, yeah, to understand what in the hell is going on here, do you need to go watch Mark of the Ronnie, Time of the Ronnie and Mark of the Ronnie? Do you need to go watch yeah, uh, all the episodes that mention Omega? That's asking a lot.
Mm.
Oh, well, really, to understand who Susan is, you need to watch everything from 1963 forward. So, all the first 2 years. So,
But at least with the Ronnie, and with Omega, there's self-containment. They didn't, but no, I take that back. They did give you enough idea of who Susan was in season 1 or the 2024 series
Mm,
because they referenced Susan so many times. So
yeah,
even though we don't get all of that reference, we this season we, we're assuming that somebody watching season 2 watched season 1. So you would have had those name dropping of Susan. So you didn't need that this time.
yeah,
Um, and even the Ronnie got name dropped last season. So
true.
um, now, one thing I want to mention about the Ronnie that I think was quite interesting, and this was kind of like a light bulb moment I had over the weekend. People kept wondering, based on the outfits that she was wearing, that oh, is this Clara? Oh, is this Romana?
Oh,
Because
right.
she wore something that Romana had worn. She
Yeah.
wore something that even Rory had worn, like the vest that he wore in one of his first outings. That being said, last season, if you go back and you look at the season 1 trailer, behind Shooty, there is the same visual representation from the pyramids of Mars from Sutek's first appearance and only
Mm-hmm.
appearance in Classic Who.
Mm-hmm.
That same visual was used in the poster. So basically, you go back and you look in hindsight, and they were basically telling you Sutek without
Yeah.
telling you Sutek.
Mm.
So this weekend, or actually yesterday, I got the light bulb moment. They were basically telling you who Mrs. Flood was by her dressing up as a companion, because in Time in the Ronnie, spoilers, she dresses up as Mel.
That is true.
Mm.
So just just a curious thing there. All right, one more thing before I ask the two of you if you have any other items, and then I've actually got something that I think would be rather fun for us to do that I haven't even told the two of you about.
Ooh.
So my question is, do you have any questions? Because totally lost what I was about to say.
I'd like to come back to this thing Morgan Lee is mentioning in the chat right now. That it does seem like what we're doing right now is such a deep dive for anybody who isn't a fan of the classic series that it almost feels like an attempt to push new fans away. I and I'm puzzled by that. I, it's putting a lot of faith in people wanting to go out and do homework to be able to understand what's going on here, or or what it all portends. Like we sort of had just gotten settled with, okay, the Rani, okay, apparently that's a bad thing, okay, and now we're being threatened with Omega. Well, who the okay? Let me go to the internet and see.
Yeah.
I just I it seems like an odd strategy to me. um, I don't know.
Mm. Clarence, what do you think?
Oh, I agree with Lee on that. I mean, it is giving you homework. Not necessarily a bad thing, but you also have well, at least here in America, the idea of all Doctor Who isn't in one place. So
Mm,
I
right.
think someone mentioned Tubi in the chat. So
Yeah.
you go to wherever Classic Who is, you go to HBO Max for New Who, and you go to Disney for the New Who.
Right.
So yeah, homework, but it's all kind of you got to go find it. Probably easy accessible, but still there is some homework to do with some of these reveals. But I guess it's a good thing, but it can also leave you puzzled.
Hmm.
Mm,
And I even caution myself because I don't want to put this out there and then it become a reality. But are we feeling as based on the feelings that was just mentioned and what you guys just said? If we look at the original run of Doctor Who from 1963 to 1989, we're about in the time frame right now to when the BBC and Michael Grade started questioning, how much longer is Doctor Who going to last? This is, 26 years total. So if you take, 6 years away, we're, what, two, 20, what are we, 22 years now? Right at,
Mm,
yeah, because it was
yeah.
60th anniversary was
Hmm.
23. So we're only 4 years short of the original run of Doctor Who.
Wow.
So are
Yeah.
we in a mentality of cycling that the fandom, quote unquote,
Hmm.
as a large overall, getting, and I don't want to say tired of Doctor Who, because I don't think that's the case, but is it needing, and I don't want it to have a rest, but you see where I'm kind of going with that?
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why they're taking a chance to do something so different with
Hmm.
these past 2 seasons, and Chibnall as well did something very different. Um, I think as long as they keep it interesting, I'm still going to be watching. So I I don't think it's fatigued. Maybe to a certain extent, but I don't think it's enough to drive fans who are very interested in what's going on away. I don't think so.
Mm. Lee, what do you think?
Time alone can tell. We all three of us, I think, have gotten dispirited by seeing so much haterade out there
Mm.
for this current season, or certainly for, I guess, for all of Shooty's time. But well, it started before the pandemic, didn't it?
Hmm.
The people saying this is no longer Doctor Who, and you've ruined my childhood. So there's certainly a contingent that says I'm not watching this anymore. Um, I don't know. I mean, they had an episode recently. I forgot now which one it was that had a 3 million audience share, which in today's endlessly bifurcated TV market, that's enormous.
Mm.
In Tom Baker's day, it was like 100 million worldwide seeing each episode,
Wow.
and but that's when there were only so many, outlets, so many channels to watch. Now there's a million channels to watch, and grabbing 3 million people, that's pretty good.
Hmm.
So and the Mirror and magazines like that are not helping any by saying Shooty is out, BBC fires the current Doctor, and things like that. No, they didn't. And yeah.
And I wonder what I haven't been looking on the internet, so I don't know what the sentiment of this episode is from
Hmm.
the people out there. But there
Right.
are certainly some things in this episode that could have felt preachy to some people, but it worked for me. With this feeling of doubt, this feeling of political correctness or Conrad correctness, I'll say, and the forgotten people, the disabled people that
Yeah.
are forgotten simply because they're different. Then you have the moment of the doctor saying this is a beautiful man, and getting off program again. um, yeah, I found it very interesting how they played, and well done in this episode, mind you. To me, it wasn't screaming out at you, but I'm sure um, there's going to be somebody out there who didn't like what was on the screen. But I feel it was well done to me.
Mm. Winggrace brings up something that was really good. He says, funny how all the people who aren't watching it anymore know what happened in every episode.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's true. That's true.
Yep. I
Mm.
keep seeing that. Yeah.
And I really, really, really like the thing
Hmm.
about the unforeseen, or the unseen, because
Yeah.
that's so often what happens. You pay attention to what you want to pay attention to, and
Mm.
the others don't exist
Hmm.
because they don't. So that could be applied on so many levels. I'll go back into my own childhood. I went to a church in my youth that would go halfway across the country to quote unquote help another church, but wouldn't go help another church down the road from them,
Right. Yeah.
for fill in the blank reasons.
Right.
But I find that interesting how your narrative shapes your own reality. So did I find that preachy? No. Uh, I actually really liked the finding the man attractive comment because it was just so natural from Shuti, but that response
Mm-hmm.
that he received,
Yeah. What are you talking
that
about?
wake up moment, like, oh crap,
Yeah.
what did I just say, kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
That was very well played, I thought, and very well
Mm-hmm.
acted on both, sides. And even with the follow up with Colonel Sexy, as they name him,
Mm-hmm.
Ibrahim, turning around even later and was like, "What's wrong with you today?"
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So, um, any other items before we continue?
I thought we mentioned the Forgotten, but I thought the Ruby stuff was really good. I thought she's always great when I see her in these episodes. So I was glad to have her back. It was nice to see her trying to trigger the Doctor's memory at the very beginning. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it gave us hope that all of this can be set right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any thoughts as to why it did not affect Ruby?
Well, I think it did, but she was trying to completely remember. She couldn't remember everything. I think that's what she was
Hmm.
saying.
Okay.
And she said that she's got an advantage. She's seen 2025 before, and it
Yes.
wasn't like this.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes. 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 Yes.
mm.
Okay, that's cool. Again, tying a strand from a
Yep.
strand. Okay, yes, that was cool.
It's really good. Isn't it?
I thought again. I think the Ronnie Archie, and I looked up at Archie
Punjabi.
Punjabi. I thought
Yeah.
she's amazing. She's really
She's
really
terrific.
good.
Yes.
I hated the dance sequence where all of a sudden a um, ball, what is it, a crystal ball
Disco
drops
ball.
from the
Yeah.
ceiling, and they start dancing. That was so, like, I do it so great. Why do we have to go back to this fantasy crowd? It's too far. It made me mad. But other than that, I liked it.
All right. So
Do we have a thought about why there are colossal ghost skeleton dinosaur things?
That brain of Conrad, he's a thinker. I don't know.
Yeah.
maybe, are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the Ronnie and the Time Lords have some skeletons in their closet.
Hmm. No, they're out
Cha-ching.
wandering around. Yeah. So
Uh,
no,
no.
huh? I mean, other than it looks cool, which I think it,
And other than there's probably going to be fight sequences. No, I've seen the trailer. There are going to be fight sequences
oh, cool.
that involve the bonosaurs.
Excellent.
The Bulbasaurs.
Yeah. All right. So this is something we've never done before, and I'm going to call them quick questions. I would like for
Uh-oh.
us to answer them with yes or no, but of course we can say, "Hey, I want to actually comment." So if either of you want to comment beyond yes or no, feel free to. But the idea is we will all answer these yes or no. Okay.
All
First
right.
one, I'll Lee. Why don't we go? Um, let's go alphabetically. JKL. All right, Clarence, Kyle, and Lee to keep it as we go through them. So Clarence, you first. Will the fugitive doctor return?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Will Susan and the doctor be reunited?
Hopefully.
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 Will Mrs. Flood turn and betray on her? Will she turn or betray? Blah, 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 blah. Will Mrs. Flood betray her other self?
No.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Will we learn more about Ruby?
No.
Possibly.
Some.
Is Belinda Susan?
No.
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 Will the doctor regenerate at the end of this episode?
No.
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 Lee, what did you say?
I said no.
Okay.
That's the hedgiest no I can come up with.
All right. Had any of us said yes, I would have said, if yes, to the previous question, will we see the actor cast as the 16th Doctor on screen in this episode? None of us said yes, so we'll move on.
But it would
Will,
be David Tennant. I have the crawling sensation that it's going to be David Tennant. So
all right.
anyway,
Will RTD retcon the timeless child in the next episode?
Do we have time for that?
how long is this episode?
60 plus minutes.
It's in 6 plus
Okay.
minutes. Possibly.
Yeah.
You say yes?
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
No.
All right. Will someone, are you ready for this? Will someone say something nice?
Heck no.
I wish.
No.
Will the Doctor and Rogue be reunited?
Oh,
I think so.
Possibly.
possibly.
Will Gallifrey and or the Time Learn, blah, blah. Will
Whatever they are.
Gallifrey and or the Time Lords return again?
Possibly.
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 Was everything from the church on Ruby Road through the reality war a dream / simulation or an experiment of the Ronnie?
My God, if everything we've been watching for the past 2 seasons is not real, I mean, it is a television show, but it's not real in the Doctor Who universe, I am through. So, no, I don't think they're retcon the Church on Ruby Road.
Dallas did it. Doctor Who, no.
And the Bob Newhart show.
Yes.
I hope not. And I'm with Clarence. I can really see them doing that. But holy smoke. Yeah.
All right. That was it. I wanted to come up with another clever question, but that was the
pretty
end of
good.
my questions.
Pop quiz.
Well, Wingrace added, will they set up the spinoff?
The war between the
And in the sea. I don't know if they will set up the spinoff, but I do know that we are allegedly supposed to see the trailer at the end of the episode.
I can see that.
let's see. Okay.
So yes and no.
I do have this to add because again, me going down rabbit holes. The unholy trinity, as described in Revelations, refers to a beast from the sea and the beast from the land.
That's
Interesting.
true. Yeah.
And one thing that I wanted to bring up that I forgot to mention in regards to Omega, they referred to him as the architect of Time Lord society to some degree. Isn't that Tecteun, as the story went? You know, because it was from her after she killed all those children that she got the secret of regeneration, and from there the Time Lord Society was built.
Yeah.
So
It's possible, but yeah. I don't know.
yeah, and Morgan Lee brings up a very good point, and I thought this the same. When we see the Ronnie holding the baby with the hood, that was just a red herring, was left and center, making me think that that was Ruby, and that was her leaving the baby.
The baby better not be Ruby. Hmm.
It's just, I know.
Was she in the episode called Lucky before? I don't know.
I don't
What's
know.
what's the episodes from last season name?
I don't know. All right, but what I do know, gentlemen, is favorite scene. Lee, I'm going to start with you. Favorite scene.
I love this moment at the end. My favorite scene was the cliffhanger where you know, the Doctor is falling to his death. There's just no way out of this. No way out of this. Love it.
Okay. Clarence, what say ye? Favorite scene.
Oh, I will go in that same realm as Lee, but I would just say the world kind of just falling apart at the end. I thought was a pretty cool visual.
Okay. I am going to just go right along with you guys. I loved the idea of what happened in that scene with because I didn't get what the Ronnie was doing at first when they were out. The two Ronnies were out on the top of the balcony, and she was using her very cool sonic screwdriver to do
Hmm.
something. I didn't realize what she was doing, but now after seeing that, she was taking the screws out so it would fall.
Hmm.
So I
Mm.
thought that that was a brilliant little view that they did previously, and then follow up and then know what it was. I thought that was really cool. So that was why I really like that scene. So favorite quote, Clarence. I'll start with you.
This is hard because I don't think there were that many great quotes in this episode. But alas, I will boil my minds down to the speeches Conrad was giving, and I'll just quote a little bit of one of those stories he was giving. But then a sad day came along. All the Time Lords were killed, and Doctor Who, which isn't just a doctor, but they were talking to him like it was a show. Anyway, Doctor Who was the only one left, and Doctor Who wished it was like the old days when he had a faithful companion at his side. But sadly, those those days are gone.
Mm. All right, Lee. Favorite quote.
I loved all of those too, and I made a note of Conrad's storybook saying about the companions. They loved him and traveled with him, but sometimes they'd leave him so they could go and fall in love and marry and have babies.
Mm.
I thought, you know, that's actually sort of distressingly true that is what happens to his companions because they're all young women. How about that? But my favorite quote from this, even an unrepentant villain can speak the truth. And Ronnie says, doubt is a beautiful thing. If you question hard enough, then doubt can crack open the world. I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and that's one of our central beliefs is that doubt is kind of the key to everything, and uncertainty. And that may seem like a strange place to stand, but the truth is, the minute we say, I know this and nothing you can say can change my mind, you're probably in trouble. And that's why we don't have an official creed or, a holy book or anything like that. It's just like, you know, allow yourself to keep being surprised, That's it. That's how science works. Say, well, we used to think this. Wow, turns out that's not true anymore. How about that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, doubt is such a beautiful thing, she says. I love it.
Mm. I'm going to blame my computer issues because it is so true that I had computer issues because I'm sitting here looking at this computer that's not turned on. But I have no quote other than I would love when I'm editing this to insert dubadoo or dabadoo or la 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 because
Dig-a-doo.
yeah because
Dig-a-doo-a-dig-a-doo.
dugadoo yes.
Dug-a-doo, dug-a-doo.
Yes, because I got to tell you this. I literally sit there listening for 15 or 20 minutes,
Well,
mesmerized by
so have
watching
lots
that.
of other people. It's not
Yeah.
just you.
I mean, for Murray Gold to create something that is so should be irritating that I'm telling you, I was just like sitting there like in a trance for 20 minutes at least just watching it over and over
Well,
and
it's
singing along
catchy.
with it. It is so catchy. So, anyway, final rating. And Lee, I'm going to start back with you. Final rating.
I'm giving this 5 orange coffee mugs.
Hmm. All right. Clarence, final rating.
I'm giving this 5 Bonosaurs out of 5.
Hmm.
Bonus or.
I'm going to get this because I just didn't like it absolutely totally. I'm
Yeah.
going to give this 4.75. Tables don't do that out of 5. All right. So, everyone listening, thank you, or everyone who is in the live chat, a big thank you. We've had more tonight
Yay.
than usual. So, thank you for everyone who was in the chat, who participated. If I don't read all of the messages, Clarence and Lee do jump in. Please know that I'm reading all of you, but my ADD doesn't always remember to go back and catch up on the chat. So just please remember that your comments are absolutely appreciated, absolutely read. Speaking of comments, I will say Lei Jian gives this 4 out of 5 falling doctors out of 5. Tasha gives this 5 yellow coffee cups out of 5. Cheers. That's awesome. So for
They're
everyone
orange on
listening,
my.
I'm sorry, say that again.
they're orange on my screen. I don't know. Anyway,
And Wingray says, Dugga, don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, Duggadoo needs to be our new
way to
mascot.
go.
Yeah. Give me something else to irritate Clarence with. Duggadoo. Maybe I can have an episode with being hosted by me, Duggadoo, and Pating.
There you go.
That would be fun, and a recorder. Because Clarence reminded me earlier that, oh dear, I seem to have lost my recorder.
There you go.
All right. So before I completely lose it, again, in all seriousness, everyone listening, everybody watching, thank you for being here. This was absolutely fun, absolutely fantastic. We're going to the finale,
Yeah.
but as always, we will be back next time.